What would you do if your own sister stole the man you were about to marry? Would you cry? Would you forgive them? Or would you wait 5 years and become the owner of the house they sacrificed everything to buy? Hi, my name is Emily, and this isn't a story about revenge, it's a story about justice. People always say, no one will ever love you like family. I believed that. My younger sister, Olivia, wasn't just my sister. She was my best friend. We shared everything. Secrets, dreams, clothes, even our biggest fears. If someone had asked me back then, who do you trust more than anyone? I would have answered without hesitation. My sister. I had no idea. She would become the reason my entire world fell apart. 3 years before everything changed, I met Daniel. He wasn't rich, he wasn't flashy, but he was kind. He listened when I spoke. He remembered the little things. For the first time in my life, I felt completely safe with someone. 3 years later, he got down on one knee. Emily, will you marry me? It was the easiest yes I'd ever said. Our families celebrated. Friends couldn't stop congratulating us. Even Olivia hugged me tightly. I'm so happy for you, she whispered. Looking back, I wonder if she already knew what she was about to do. Wedding planning took over our lives. Daniel and Olivia started spending more time together. At first, it seemed completely normal. They picked flowers, visited venues, tasted wedding cakes. Whenever I thanked Daniel, he'd smile and say, Olivia just has great taste. I laughed. Why would I ever question it? They were the two people I trusted most. Then one rainy Thursday, everything changed. I left work early because I wasn't feeling well. When I pulled into the driveway, Daniel's car was already there. I smiled. I thought I'd surprise him. The house was quiet. Then I heard laughter coming from the kitchen. I slowly walked toward the sound. I opened the door, and my entire world stopped. Daniel had his arms around Olivia. They were kissing. Not a misunderstanding. Not an accident. A kiss that had happened before. My purse slipped from my hand and hit the floor. They both turned toward me. Neither of them looked shocked. Daniel took a deep breath. Emily, I'm in love with Olivia. Those 6 words destroyed everything I'd spent 3 years building. Olivia started crying. We never wanted to hurt you. But it was already too late, because betrayal doesn't happen in a single moment. It grows. In the shadows. While you're busy trusting the people you love. I didn't scream. I didn't argue. I simply walked upstairs, packed one suitcase, and left. That night, I lost my fiancé. I lost my sister. And I lost the family I thought I'd always have. But I made one promise to myself. One day, I would build a life so peaceful that their betrayal would no longer define me. The next few months were the hardest of my life. I moved into a tiny apartment with peeling paint and barely enough room for a bed. Every morning, I woke up wondering if I'd made the biggest mistake by walking away. But then I reminded myself, staying would have been an even bigger mistake. I worked wherever I could. Coffee shops, retail stores, night shifts at a warehouse. Some days I worked 16 hours straight. There were nights when I cried myself to sleep, not because I missed Daniel, but because I felt like I'd lost my identity. Still, I refused to quit. One evening, while scrolling through job listings, I came across a free online course in digital marketing. I had nothing to lose, so I signed up. Every night after work, I studied. While everyone else was sleeping, I was learning SEO, advertising, social media, business strategy. Slowly, my life began to change. A few months later, I landed my first freelance client. The payment wasn't much, but seeing money I'd earned through my own skills felt incredible. 1 client became 3, 3 became 10. Within 2 years, I quit my job and launched my own marketing agency. People laughed at first. They said, "She's dreaming too big." But dreams don't work unless you do. By the 5th year, my company had offices in 3 cities. We worked with brands across the country. For the first time in my life, I wasn't just surviving, I was thriving. Money wasn't what made me proud, it was knowing. I had rebuilt my life with my own hands, no shortcuts, no betrayal, just hard work. Then one afternoon, I received a phone call from an old neighbour. "Emily, have you heard about Daniel and Olivia?" I hadn't. "They're drowning in debt." At first, I didn't know how to react. According to social media, their life looked perfect. Luxury vacations, designer clothes, a beautiful new home, perfect smiles in every picture. But pictures don't tell the truth. Reality did. Daniel's business had failed. Their mortgage payments piled up. Credit cards were maxed out. Loans kept growing. Auction day arrived. The room was filled with investors. To them, it was just another property. To me, it was the place where my life had fallen apart. The auctioneer started the bidding. Opening bid, $480,000. Hands immediately went up. The price climbed higher and higher. 500,000, 520, 550, one by one. The bidders dropped out. Finally, there were only two of us left. The room fell silent. The auctioneer looked around. "Any higher bids?" I took a deep breath. $610,000. The other investor shook his head. He was done. The auctioneer smiled. "Sold." The gavel hit the table. Just like that, their dream home became mine. A week later, I drove to the house. The moving truck was already outside. Boxes covered the driveway. I knocked on the front door. Daniel opened it. The moment he saw me, his face turned pale. "Emily, what are you doing here?" Without saying a word, I handed him the ownership documents. He looked at the papers, then back at me. His hand started shaking. "No, this can't be real." At that moment, Olivia walked into the hallway. When she saw the documents, her eyes filled with tears. "You bought our house?" I nodded calmly. "I didn't take it from you. The bank sold it." Neither of them had anything to say. For the first time in years, silence spoke louder than words. A few minutes later, Daniel looked at me and quietly asked, "Did you buy this house just to get revenge?" I looked around the empty living room. 5 years ago, I would have answered with anger, but I wasn't that woman anymore. I smiled gently. "No, I bought it because I could, and because I learned something you never did. Success isn't about taking someone else's happiness. It's about building your own." Daniel lowered his head. He knew there was nothing left to say. As they packed the last of their belongings, Olivia stopped in front of me. Tears rolled down her face. "I'm sorry, Emily. I never meant for things to end like this." I looked into her eyes. "For years, I'd imagined this moment. I thought it would make me happy. But it didn't. It just made me realize how much I'd changed." "I forgave you a long time ago," I said softly. "But forgiveness doesn't erase consequences." She nodded, picked up her final box, and walked out the front door. That evening, I stood alone in the house. The sunset poured through the windows. Everything was quiet. For the first time in years, I felt completely at peace. I finally understood something. Daniel didn't ruin my life. He redirected it. If he hadn't betrayed me, I never would have discovered how strong I could become. Sometimes, the worst day of your life becomes the first day of the life you were truly meant to live. So if someone betrays you, don't waste years trying to get even. Spend those years becoming someone they never deserved, because the greatest revenge is living a life so full of peace that their betrayal no longer has the power to hurt you.